All right, so we are extremely happy to welcome onto the show John Chapman. He is the host of the 49ers Rush podcast, good friend of the show. Matter of fact, John has been coming on my podcast since they were the Weekend Warrior podcast like years ago. Good guy, great guy. We love having him on, super insightful. And John, welcome to the show, man.
Man, I really appreciate it, Pat. I think we go back, is it 3, 4, or 5 years ago? I tried looking back through some emails and I was like, how many times have we kind of done this annually? And man, just absolute honor to be here. Fun to talk some football. And I'm going to try really hard not to get upset this time.
Yeah, we haven't talked to you. I think the last time we talked to you was prior to the Niners game a few years ago, right?
Yeah, I believe so. And yeah, that one we had a couple good years there, and then it got really bad last year. We won't talk about that one. We'll just skip over that one.
I believe, John, that last year the first time I had you on was Weekend Warrior Pod, and we did a full mock draft together. And I don't know if it was 3 or 4 years ago, but we got every single pick wrong. Every single one we got wrong.
Baby, that's right.
Although I will say we did get, it was the Josh Allen draft. So was that 2018?
Yeah, that's right.
We did get Josh Allen to the Bills. We just had him at 12 instead of at 7. So that one kind of counts, but complete 1 through 32 completely wrong. It was unbelievable.
Well, this year we don't have to worry about that with the first 2 picks. I think you can sharpen in, maybe even the 3. And it's actually ironic. We have you on at a good time, right? Because your Niners now are up at 3. Bunch of smoke, bunch of, which way are they going? I guess let's get your initial thoughts, right? Because I think this relates to the Patriots a little bit too, right? Because there's another team in front of them now that is drafting a quarterback. Obviously, the Jimmy Garoppolo news. What can we read into that? So I think there's a lot of correlation between the two teams, despite being across the country and in 2 separate divisions. What's your thought? Is it Mac Jones at 3? I mean, Schefter went out today and said, he would be shocked if it wasn't. But I'd like to get your take, because obviously you cover the team and do a lot for the Niners. So I think, your opinion on this holds a lot of weight. So
the one thing that I think you have to start with, the context of the situation. No matter what has happened with this new front office, when Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch have shown up, nobody has had a damn clue. When we traded for Jimmy, nobody knew about it. When we hired John Lynch, nobody knew about it. When we traded up to 3, not one mention. Nobody has nailed what the 49ers are doing or what their plans are. They don't leak. In fact, if you go back to when John Lynch was hired, he told everybody in the organization that was involved in the hiring process he's going to accept the job. But he said, I'm going to wait 3 days. And if this catches wind in the national media or in any way, shape, or form, I'm out. He wanted to make sure there were no leaks. Well, since this has taken place, there's been absolutely nothing from inside the organization. So all of this information that is out there came by one of my least, I'm a Longhorn from Texas, one of my least favorite Longhorns ever, Chris Sims. And so he was Kyle Shanahan's roommate in college, whatever else. He leaked out that he thought the quarterback that Kyle Shanahan would like the most would be Mac Jones. And after that, snowball, whatever, it's just taken on a thing of its own. Now, is there a possibility the 49ers take Mac Jones? Yes, 100%. Is that coming from inside the 49ers organization? Hell no. It's all conjecture, and it's just people piling on top of each other that are not based in the 49ers. So me personally, I am a big no on Mac Jones. I do not think – I do have a first-round grade on him. He's my last first-round grade that I have in this draft. And so I think he's a great quarterback. I really, really do. But at pick 3, I don't think you trade 3 first-round picks to go get Mac Jones.
And not to Keegan, I know you want to get a word in, same with you, Pat, but I don't want to forget it. When you look at the type of quarterback Shanahan's had a lot of success with, right? Kirk Cousins, Matt Ryan, he had an MVP year. And then, Jimmy Garoppolo, say what you want, can't stay on the field, took him to a Super Bowl 2 years ago. Mac Jones, certainly, I think probably his ceiling is a little bit closer to Matt Ryan. I think when you group those 4, they're all similar in some ways. Right. So I think that has something to do with it too. But do you think Mac Jones is the type of quarterback that Shanahan likes? Right. Or is it, I think that's probably somewhere the comparison and where this kind of smoke is coming from too.
It makes sense, and I think it lacks imagination. So if you look at those quarterbacks in which you mentioned, one, he got Kirk Cousins in the 4th round. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't going all out for him. Yep. He didn't pick Matt Ryan. That's where he got signed to be an offensive coordinator. He came to the 49ers. He didn't even pick Jimmy Garoppolo. He wanted Kirk Cousins. And John Lynch did the trade, the 2nd round pick for him before Kyle Shanahan even knew what was going on. And Kyle Shanahan even came on and said, whenever they told him, look, we're trading a 2nd for Jimmy Garoppolo, the very first reaction he had was, damn, this means I'm not getting Kirk Cousins. So would he pick Mac Jones? I think that is yeah, for sure he would. Would he trade 3 first-round picks for somebody that just because he has similar play styles to those other quarterbacks, which I would put, he is similar to Kirk Cousins and Matt Ryan and Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think he's anywhere close to Matt Ryan. His ceiling. The arm talent just is not there. So it does. I get it. The puzzle of pieces that he has had in the past, this fits that MO, but I don't think you can just relegate it to that. Why trade up 3 first-round picks for a guy that is exactly like what you have right now in Jimmy Garoppolo? That's where the question comes to for me.
Yeah, and I know pretty much everybody on NFL Twitter has kind of been like, Mac Jones, really? So we've established that you're not a Mac Jones guy. And we were talking, before we went on about how you like Trey Lance and you like Justin Fields. So I wanted to know if you could rank those two. I assume those are the top 2 for you in terms of realistic prospects. How would you rank those 2?
Yeah, so me personally, my own draft rankings, I have Trey Lance ranked ahead of Justin Fields. I have them in the exact same tier. So it's not like I prefer Trey Lance. I would like Trey Lance, but it's not like, oh, Justin Fields is trash. Absolutely not. If the 49ers get either one of these guys, it's an absolute home run. Watch out, NFC West. I mean, it's Kyle Shanahan with one of those guys is going to be unbelievable. I prefer Trey Lance for several reasons. One, he's the youngest. The film that we have on him, he was 18, 19 years old. We don't have any 20-year-old film on Trey Lance. 2, he ran the most complex offense of any draft-eligible quarterback. If you watch the Bison of North Dakota play, it is the 49ers at the college level. Fullback, double tight end, double motions, jet sweeps. And he operated that, took the most snaps under center of any of these draft-eligible quarterbacks. And then 2, strongest arm, best runner, and guess what? Doesn't turn the ball over at all. Like, it just makes so much damn sense. The potential is through the roof. Called all of his own protections and audibles at the line of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. For example, if you watch, Trevor Lawrence, or if you watch Justin Fields, every single time they get to the line of scrimmage, they stop, they turn, they look to the coaches at the sideline, they wait for them, then they signal in the call. Nope. Trey Lance does all of that on his own at 18 years old. So the jump, while I do understand it is a legit criticism to say, oh, but the playing competition wasn't that high, that's a legit criticism. It should also be a criticism for Zach Wilson. And you look at what Zach Wilson did against Power 5 teams, the dude went 2-3 for his career, and had more interceptions than he did touchdowns during those games. So I think that's a legitimate concern, but the NFL has seen recently players jump. Josh Allen from Wyoming, they were trash before and afterwards. You talk about Carson Wentz and what he's been through now, but his rookie year, you remember the Eagles were able to trade away Sam Bradford just because Carson Wentz adapted so quick to the game. They were fine with him starting week 1. And the reason why is that offense at North Dakota State, it just translates very well to the NFL.
No, it's true. And it's funny because everyone talks about he's not pro ready. And it's like, well, why not? Like,
film does not say that.
And that's the thing, and yes, he didn't play last year, but still, Jamie Newman didn't play last year and he really showed it. Right. But Lance, when he played, didn't really show that he was super rusty and didn't know what was going on, and so I think it is a little bit of a misnomer. People talk, we're Patriots fans. We know about the jump, right? Kyle Duggar went from D2 safety to, starter for the Patriots and look damn good doing it. And so, that's one of those things where, yes, of course, the level of play and the level of competition certainly can even out a little bit. But I love the fact, and you mentioned it, the fact that he can't. And by the way, I don't know if Mac Jones is going to come in day one and start. Like, I really don't know if he is. And Trey Lance might be able to because of all the things that you said about him calling his own protection and him being, understanding the game so well to that level that he might be able to come in and start day one.
And I'll say this too, you talk about starts. Yeah, Trey Lance started 17 games. How many games has Mac Jones started? 17 games.
Right.
And so why do some things apply to certain wide receivers and not, or to certain quarterbacks and not the other? I'm not here to put down Mac Jones. I do think he is a hell of a quarterback, but the ceiling, it's not nearly there. And whenever people say, oh, Trey Lance isn't pro ready, really? How many snaps has Mac Jones taken under center? Because guess what he's going to be doing for the 49ers? And if your concern is, okay, who's going to be ready for the NFL? The 49ers are not the Cincinnati Bengals. We still got Jimmy Garoppolo. We're not starting a rookie week one. I don't think that should be the plan. We have a Super Bowl caliber roster, at least definitely playoff caliber at bare minimum. If two people stay healthy this year, then I think that you're able to do the transition plan very similar to what Kansas City Chiefs did. It's much more Alex Smith to Patrick Mahomes than it is Joe Burrow. And I don't think the Jets are really in that place either. I think the Jets, for example, they traded away Sam Darnold just yesterday. They're building, they're rebuilding. You can tell what they did through free agency or the lack thereof. They understand this is a several year progression. 49ers are not in that ballpark. And
you mentioned it, right? The Sam Darnold trade, Jimmy Garoppolo, I think that relates to the Patriots a lot. One, because we'll get into the trade up scenarios and the opportunity potentially for Patriots to get, one of those top 5 guys. That obviously speaks to what the Panthers did yesterday with Darnold. But you mentioned Jimmy Garoppolo, and I think that's obviously a subject here in New England. It has been really since the start of the offseason. And personally, I've been on the record saying if they can't go up and trade and get a Justin Fields, I'll do everything they can to go get Jimmy and bring him back. And after the Darnold deal, would he go for a 6 this year and a future 2 and a 4 for next year, somewhere along those lines? That obviously the Niners aren't getting, and you can ask for what you want, right? Like they want the first round pick that came out from Mike Giardi at NFL Network. That was never going to happen. Obviously, you're going to ask higher than what you can. But what is their plan with him, right? Because obviously you have the cap hit. I think it's $24.5 million. Certainly, I watched the press conference. They seem committed to him at least for the 2021 season. But how does that preclude to Jimmy, right? Because he's a quarterback who's going to have a number 3 pick breathing down his neck. Niners could be 8-0 and he's playing pretty good football. Fans, the NFL, everyone's going to want to see that number 3 pick, whoever it is. What does this mean for Jimmy Garoppolo? Is there potentially, could he be moved either draft weekend, right after the draft, depending on who they get?
I think it's way easier to move him now, but it's not in the best interest of the 2021 49ers. If you remember all of the rumors back and forth, which who knows how to take this, but when supposedly plan A for the Patriots was Jimmy Garoppolo, right? The 49ers, why in the hell would you trade him at that time when you had no backup option? You're sitting at 12, not guaranteed to get that pick. Well, now it's a little bit more feasible, but everybody else has moved on, right? Everybody else got rejected by the hot chick and they picked up their plan B, plan C to go to the dance. Nobody wants to be alone. Those are there now. So the teams that possibly could have landed Jimmy Garoppolo, New England Patriots included, now you got Cam. Now you got $5 million cap hit with Cam. I don't think any team would want to plan and go into a 2021 year with Cam Newton and Jimmy Garoppolo. What the hell? How are you going to install an offense? Who gets what? How does that benefit? So if I'm Bill Belichick or John Lynch and the 49ers, that ship has sailed for this year. Jimmy Garoppolo has a no trade clause this year as well. So he can say no. He's going to start week 1 for the 49ers unless there's a huge deal. I think there's a few teams that would be interested in Jimmy Garoppolo, but it just doesn't make sense anymore. So what I see, Ryan, the 49ers roll with Jimmy Garoppolo. If he stays healthy, he starts out. If he starts to, suck or whatever around bye week, then you make the switch. But 2022, last year on his contract, and no trade clause next year. 49ers can ship him wherever the hell they want. And there's going to be way more quarterback needy teams next year than there are currently. I think it's you guys, maybe, even though I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo makes a lot of sense for you. Denver, you could throw in there. Chicago, New Orleans. But again, they've got a bunch of one-year deals with these stopgap quarterbacks, Andy Dalton, Jameis Winston. Taysom Hill, that contract is straight up bananas. That's a one-year deal, guaranteed. I have more chance to be quarterback next year for the Saints than he does. But I think next year, if Jimmy just plays adequately next year, I think you'll be able to get a lot more for him.
Yeah, and what do you think, baseline kind of, he just has a similar season to what he had this year. He ends up, sitting on the bench the back half of the season. What do you think the most likely destination for Jimmy would be
it's
next
New England.
offseason?
New England, as long as you guys don't get your quarterback this year. And so I hate to tell you this, I'm rooting against you guys in the draft. If you guys do not get a quarterback this year, hey man, you can get a stud, Micah Parsons. He might fall, baby. But if the Patriots do not get a quarterback, I'm telling you right now, it's in the cards. And if Cam struggles, you're talking about a bye-week trade deadline deal that would take place very similar to that Halloween trade, Jimmy Garoppolo to San Francisco. Yep. You just reverse the damn thing. If Cam doesn't pan out, if Jimmy Garoppolo struggles, whatever, I just think it makes too much sense. I really think there's a real legit chance of that taking place.
Well, and you said it with the no trade clause. I think at this point with Jimmy G, he has the no trade clause. And so anywhere he goes, no one's paying him that money. No one's paying him that money to stay. And so Sam Frank can look at it and say, well, we're, ideally, yeah, he'll start, and maybe he won't play the whole season, but he'll start, similar to what Alex Smith did the first year. Now he played, 15 of the 16 games, but okay, if we have to bench him with a few games left, sure, we bench him with a few games left. But the idea, is that me?
So he's going radioactive, man. You're making too good
about
points.
that. The idea is that, okay, you get traded to the Patriots. Then the Patriots say, well, we want you to take a cap hit, to take a hit on you. He's like, I'm not doing that. So I'll just reject the trade, right? So, but next year he can't do that, and so I think that's a huge piece of that as well, because no one's paying that contract except for San Francisco, who already has him under contract. You don't really have a choice, So I think that no trade clause really affects things and changes things, and so I think you're right. Like it makes more. The more you think about it, the more it does make sense. And then next year, like you said, that's when you move him. And look what happened to Alex Smith, right? You just say, hey, look at the contract that Alex Smith got from Washington. Now he tore his leg apart, so it didn't work out, obviously. But he got a contract from Washington the next year. So you play this 1 year under us, you have a good year, and then you go, we go trade you somewhere else, and you go get a contract somewhere else. It makes sense, and it works for every party involved.
And I think there's just so many parallels between those two teams. And whenever you look at kind of what the entire, they got a third. So if you look at Alex Smith, the Chiefs got a third and Kendall Fuller for Alex Smith. Now, I think that Jimmy Garoppolo will get more. This is under the presupposition, I think, as you said, Keegan, that, he has a similar year. Right. So if that's the case, I don't think a future first round pick is out of the question, because, again, the 49ers aren't desperate. John Lynch even said in the press conference where they announced the trade up to 3, the very first thing they did is they went to ownership and they said, look, we want to trade all this draft capital to 3, but under the condition, we also keep Jimmy's cap where it is, because we want both. The only thing that has hurt the 49ers in 2 out of the last 3 years is Jimmy Garoppolo getting hurt. That's it. You remember when Jimmy stepped in, he started those last 5 games, went 5-0, and we beat 3 playoff teams. I mean, we were the talk of the NFL going into the offseason. Then we go out, Jimmy tears his ACL, season done. And so what this coaching staff seems to be doing in the front office is saying, look, even if Jimmy gets hurt, screw it, we're still marching forward. We will not lose another season because of quarterback injury. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and I want to talk about, obviously, this comment here. If you can't see it obviously, if you're not looking visually, it's, also Fields and Lance could benefit from sitting on the bench for some games. I think that helps, that relates to both the Patriots and the Niners. In terms of the Patriots, if they are to move up and get a Lance, a Fields, I think that Cam Newton deal makes the most sense. Keegan, you've been on the record saying Cam Lance 2021, right? That's the best situation. Say what you want. We've said it all the time. Say what you want about Cam's play. But if you want to learn about how to be a professional and play the position and be a role model and a leader, that is a perfect guy to
play the position that way. There's a very specific way that those two play quarterback, and it's, they fit together.
So I think that's where the Cam deal makes a lot of sense, right? You go out, you have that big free agency. I say it all the time. They had these guys locked up, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, Aguilar, born from multi-year deals. I don't think they're signing those contracts if, with Cam Newton on a 1-year deal, right? There's got to be something else up their sleeve. So say they do get a Fields or a Lance, say they trade up to 7 or get in that range to get one of them. It makes so much sense, right? You can have them come in, learn the offense, kind of an easy year one. Cam's got the card until if things go south or they're ready to go, best man wins and you play the guy. But I think Justin Fields, Trey Lance sitting behind a Cam Newton for 2021 is the best case scenario for the New England Patriots.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. And, whomever these two quarterbacks go to, and really any quarterback, if you look at the NFL, it is so much more beneficial to the development of these quarterbacks to sit. I'm not talking about a whole year. That I think that's out of those days are past. But if you look at quarterbacks, even Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, Baker sat for a couple games. The people that are having success are the ones that can sit behind and wait. Justin Herbert, right? It comes out, Lamar Jackson, whatever else. Sit for a while. It's a transition. It doesn't matter if you're in the SEC, the Missouri Valley Conference, or the Big Ten. It doesn't matter. Sit and learn. And Cam, as you said, I think that would be a perfect place for him to go. Either one of those two guys, because you need to sit and chill and learn. I think it's huge. And sticking with those two guys, Trey Lance and Justin Fields, both of them sat in college. Right? Justin Fields goes to Georgia and loses the job, then transfers. He was out 2 years watching. You look at Trey Lance. He graduated early, enrolled a year early, then sat out his redshirt year, and then started his redshirt freshman year. So both of them have already kind of been through that and had immediate success when they got behind center.
Yeah, and you talked about the 49ers not being desperate. They've got, Jimmy G's a hell of a backup plan at the quarterback position. So when you talk about moving him and kind of the future of the 49ers, he's probably not in their long-term plans. They're going to find a desperate team, whether that's the Patriots or not. I think it's a 50-50 shot of the Patriots being desperate after this season. I don't think any of us have any idea what they're going to do at the end of the month, but what are some of those desperate teams that you think will throw a little bit extra to try to get somebody maybe for a push this year or kind of when they have no idea what's going to be going on in 2022? Because I have a team like Pittsburgh that I think about, so what's another team like that you think about?
Well, before we move off of New England, I will say this. You talk about being desperate, because if you look at the roster that the Patriots have, it's prime for go get a quarterback. Mm-hmm. What are you guys missing? A number 2 linebacker? Like, right. That's it. I really do think that you guys are the prime one, but you got to see how Cam pans out. Maybe Cam balls out because now he's surrounded. It was barren last year, man. Right. But teams that I think make the most sense, the Denver Broncos, definitely. John Elway is a Hall of Famer and legit whatever else. He sucks at picking quarterbacks. He goes after the biggest, tallest, strongest arm guy. It hasn't worked out. I think he's 0 for 5 at quarterbacks. And they desperately want a quarterback. I think they would prefer to go through the draft. But like I said, you guys jump up and pass them, and one of these other teams, whether it be the Lions or Carolina, still takes a quarterback in this draft. Denver's going to be – they're going to be struggling big time. So I could see them making that trade there. The Jets, they kind of still make a little bit of sense, even if you do, for reasons that I said with the 49ers. Do you want to start Zach Wilson week 1? That's a terrible roster. We talk about like NFL draft bust. We know there's a 50% success rate with quarterbacks. I don't think it's based on the quarterbacks most of the time. I think it's based on the damn team. And whoever goes to play for the New York Jets, sorry, that's the 32nd spot I would put a quarterback to be successful. They have nothing. So maybe
they're playing the Patriots twice, the Bills twice, and Brian Flores' defense twice. That is not good.
It's a recipe for disaster for a rookie quarterback.
Zach Wilson, that's where he's going. But golly, man, I really hope they bring somebody in and just say, look, dude, just wait a couple of weeks, because he's going to get trashed. He had one of the best offensive lines at BYU. He is going to get destroyed, which I hate to see. I don't like to root against people, period. Now, another team, Carolina, they traded for Sam Darnold. Again, you're talking about
great spot for him.
It's awesome. That surrounding cast and everything is perfect, but what if it doesn't work out? If it doesn't work out, they're back on the, they were the most aggressive team for a quarterback. I still have no clue why the hell the Lions didn't pick them to trade that number 8 spot. They offered number 8 for Matt Stafford, and they said, no, we're good. We'll take Jared Goff in 2029 first rounder. I still don't understand that, but
it's foolish.
Whatever.
It's interesting, and it's an interesting point. And I will say about the Jimmy, I just had something and I lost it. But I do think the Jimmy G conversation is interesting to kind of figure out what's going on. Nope, Spags go. I lost it. I'll be back.
I wanted to talk about,
I'll figure it out.
So now talking draft, because I think.
Oh, that's what it was. I got it.
Go
Spags,
ahead.
you nailed
it.
Thank you, sir.
Go.
So number 4, right? Atlanta. So let's get back to the draft. Like Spags said, number 4 at Atlanta, right? Now if I'm the GM of Atlanta, right? I put my GM hat on. If I'm Atlanta, I'm drafting a quarterback at number 4. However, Adam Schefter came out today and said that the Falcons are shopping the pick. Okay. What that tells me is, number 1, they don't have a legitimate offer yet, so they're trying to drum up interest. And number 2, they don't really want to take a quarterback at number 4. Those are the 2 things that it tells me. Now, I don't know if you guys agree with that, but like I looked at that and said, oh, okay, well, so they don't have an offer yet. So they're trying to get people bidding against each other when there's no real bids, right? And also that they're not taking a quarterback, which I think is interesting. But I'm curious as to, we talk about panic plays, right? Does Bill panic and move up to 4? Does someone else, does the Broncos panic and move up to 4, right? Does Washington be like, screw it, we'll throw everything in and trade up to 4, right? So that's what I'm curious about. Do you think Atlanta, well, I guess the question is, are you sold on Atlanta not going QB? And do you think another team's going to trade up to 4?
This is weird to me because the 49ers they went after picks 5 and 4 initially. And, you can look at the context of the NFL and it kind of is very, very telling because you could have traded up to 6. Miami traded from 12, the original 49ers spot, to 6. 49ers could have done that easily. Instead of 3, right, you're just giving up 2 first rounders. That's fine. So that tells you, 1, the 49ers really like somebody in the top 3. 2, it lets you know 4 and 5 are a little bit more difficult. And I think they're a little bit more difficult for a few reasons. 1, Atlanta, I think Justin Fields, if for some reason the 49ers don't go him, he's a freaking hometown kid, raised just a few miles away from, Fulton County Stadium. Well, they don't play there anymore. Sorry, but the stadium there, I forget the name of it. Mercedes-Benz, whatever.
I think it's the Benz one.
There we go. But I think that's a good spot. I think that now Arizona wants to trade out because Carolina got their quarterback. The whole time, those division rival things, right? We're not trading this pick because we don't want somebody to give this to our division rival and them get a top-tier quarterback. Now they got Sam Darnold. They're wiping their brow. All right, guys, come on. We're ready to jump out of here because it kind of protects them in their division. Now, what would it cost for the Patriots to jump that high? It's going to cost a 49ers type deal. I mean, if it costs that much from 12 to 3, from 15 to 4, it's a worse draft.
I said from the start that the Dolphins have played quarterback gatekeeper the entire time. Right now they're at 6 again. So they right, set the price to what it was to get to 3, and they're chilling at 6, saying they're obviously not moving this pick to New England, and they're probably not moving it again. They realistically could draft night, right? Like move back a few slots. Somebody like Denver wants to go up and give them, even more picks, but they're playing quarterback gatekeeper. It's like, okay, you want to get up, this is the price, and we're sitting right here at 6, and you can't get past us again.
And I don't think the Bengals will touch that pick. They're stuck there. And I think they want to stay there. Early on, everybody was like, oh, it's going to be Penei Sewell. Nope. That's going to be Kyle Pitts, baby. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
It's going to be Pitts or Chase. I think it's going to be Kyle Pitts. This wide receiver draft class is so stupid deep. You look at last year, it was stupid deep. You look at next year, it's going to be even worse. So there's one anomaly outside of the quarterback position in this year's draft, and it's Kyle Pitts. I don't have another second round grade on a tight end this year. It's Kyle Pitts than nothing else. So, you talk about economics of scarcity and stuff. If that's the case, I just think it makes too much sense. So I think the Bengals are sitting there at 5. I don't think they budge. So back to your question, Pat, it's 4 or else. Right. Because like you said, Miami's not trading you. You get to 7, and now you're starting to talk about Detroit. They could go quarterback. There's no doubt. They have the draft capital in the future where if they do, keep, Jared Goff, that's fine. You team him up with one of these quarterbacks. You got multiple first rounders next 2 years. They could do that. Carolina, will they not draft one of these quarterbacks that they were high on just because of Sam Darnold? They could walk away from that contract right after next year. I don't think they will. But Matt Rule's number one philosophy in football coaching is get the supreme physical talented athlete and then coach them into what you want it to be. If Trey Lance or Justin Fields are there, good God, are you kidding me? That fits it to a T. If you want a quarterback, you got to go to 4. I can't find another way around it. I just can't see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only caveat to that is unless you like the 5th guy, but that's one of those things where you got to wait till draft night. There's no, oh, this guy's going to be available at 5. No one knows who the 5th guy is, just in how these teams evaluate quarterbacks. So it's one of those things. You have to wait till draft night and kind of work from there. But like you said, 4 is the only spot where you can guarantee yourself at least a minute, tiny little bit of a shot at your guy. That's the only spot that you can do it.
And I think you would want to wait until you see who goes at 3.
Right.
Why, if you're in love with Mac Jones, which I don't think anybody is, or if you're in love with Fields or Lance, if that guy goes at 3, then you say, all right, deal's off. I think you call Atlanta and say, look, we're comfortable with this. If our guy's there, let us know. If somebody else gives you something we can't beat, and we'll talk. But this is kind of where we're at. We'll see what's on the clock.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. I mean, especially Patriots-wise, too. I mean, it's going to be difficult. Spag said it. Like, they're primed right now. And you said, too, like, they have no real glaring holes. It's just the quarterback position. And again, even if you believe that Cam is the answer, which if you listen to our podcast, you know that we're not totally sold on that. At least two-thirds of us aren't totally sold on that right now.
I'm here now, baby. Dude. We're all aboard the Cam train.
So, but even if you believe that he's the guy, he's on a 1-year deal, right? So it's like, this is your setup for the future, and you're talking about a 1-year deal. So let's get to 15 though. Let's say Patriots don't move up for whatever reason. The quarterbacks go, say all 5 quarterbacks go before 15. If all 5 quarterbacks go before 15, that means there's going to be a ton of extra talent that's sitting on the board. I'm still not 100% sold that Mac Jones is going to go before 15, but nevertheless, let's pretend that he does. Okay. Who do they take at 15? And then my other question to you is, I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots trade back simply because they don't have a pick between 46 and 96. Same thing happened last year when they were at 23 and 87. They traded back and picked up two picks in between there. I wouldn't be surprised to see them move back and pick up another pick in between that 46 96 gap. Who's there at 15 that you think they can target? And then is there a guy where other teams are going to be maybe not clamoring to come up, but be like, we have to go up and get that guy, and we'd be looking at it saying, we need to go up and we'll trade you an extra second-round pick or whatever the case may be?
One of my favorite things about Belichick, and it's a love-hate relationship, one-sided, of course, with me and Belichick. But he sets his board, a very Parcellsian type understanding. I have 15, let's just say 15 first-round grades this year. Or let's say 14, it'll work better. We have 14 first-round grades. I know there's 32 picks in the first round. You don't always attribute that many guys. So I have 21 first-round grades so far for this year's class. So let's say you have those 14 first-round grades, but all of them are gone by the time you're at 15. Bill Belichick is notorious. I'm trading back. I don't care who's left. I'm just going to get whatever I can, more darts, whatever else. Now, if you're sitting there at 15, and these are the people that I think fit perfectly what it is you want to do. I think at the top of the list, it would be Micah Parsons, linebacker, Penn State. He just, oh my gosh, if he was an edge rusher, he would have a first round grade.
I was going to say he plays at 246. Like you can throw him on a tackle and he's going to do well, and you can put him in the middle. You can play him off ball, anything. That guy's a chess piece.
I think those off field issues, man. I'd be surprised if he gets taken before 15, to be honest, because of the off field stuff.
And if you want to read into that, it's some pretty messed up stuff for sure. Yeah. But Belichick doesn't care about those things, or at least let me say it this way. Let me phrase it this way. He feels confident if he understands the context that he can control the narrative and the situation to put a player in whatever. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, you summed it up. Yeah.
Yep.
So having said that, there's 2 limitations off field. 2, covers linebacker. You never see him play anything outside his zone. You don't see him play man. Those are some things he's going to work on, but the athletic profile says that's there. Now, if we're not going with Micah Parsons or he's gone, I love 2 offensive linemen and 2 wide receivers. Let's talk the O linemen that just seem to fit so damn perfectly. Rashawn Slater is a top 10 player for me. I have him ahead of Penei Sewell. And he's one of those guys similar to Isaiah Wynn. You could start at guard. He could start center. He could start tackle. His player profile is almost identical to Tristan Wirfs last year coming out of Iowa. I love Rashawn Slater. You go back and you watch his tape versus Chase Young. Yeah. He shut him down, pancaked him 4 times in that game. I was going bananas. I watched it over and over again. He's incredible. Another guy, Elijah Vera Tucker, another undersized, very high IQ, young, 20 years old, and he could play all the spots again as well. I think that's the versatility at the offensive line. I think those 2 guys, whoever gets them, they're going to get a freaking super high draft score for me, which nobody cares about. 2 wide receivers, the Alabama guys. You have to tie Nick Saban and Belichick together. There's just so much there. I think
nobody selected more Alabama guys than Belichick.
Nobody has.
Deservedly so. I mean, obviously.
You guys in Baltimore, I swear to God, man, you guys just freaking Alabama.
Washington's creeping up there with those defensive linemen. They've got about 4 in the past 6 years.
True.
And funny, the 49ers is the exact opposite. They picked Reuben Foster, and they're like, screw Alabama. We don't want to touch it. I don't know if you guys saw the quote, but Nick Saban just came out of the radio and said, I was standing right next to Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch the whole time during the pro day. I even said hi to him twice. They didn't say anything to me. Like, they do not like him. They have been very public about how he misled them with Reuben Foster. And so, yeah, take that for whatever. Yeah. But if either one of the Alabama wide receivers fall, I don't think you're done at wide receiver. I know that you have depth, but this is one of the positions y'all have struggled at. But one of them will fall. This draft class is bananas when you look at the wide receivers. So I think somebody's going to fall. And you guys could just sit there. If somebody falls, awesome. If not, trade back.
Yep. And I think you hit the nail on the head with tackle, because I think that's a spot they could go to. But I want to talk about this question here from Tyler Florio. Would a cornerback like Horn or Surtain make more sense at 15? They could trade Gilmore or Jackson. I think corner is also an interesting route they could go at 15, right? Because you look at the 2 tackle spots. Isaiah Wynn, they have yet to pick up his 5th-year option, technically on a 1-year deal this year. Trent Brown also on a 1-year deal. When you look at the 2 corner spots, J.C. Jackson, obviously a restricted free agent, has a 2nd-round tender on him. Stephon Gilmore, there's little rumblings out there about potential contract extension. But right now, corner and tackle, your 2 top spots, you only have locked up through this year. So I think if you have an opportunity to get a guy like J.C. Horn, a guy like Patrick Surtain, I don't see him falling outside the top 12. Like Cowboys or even Denver if they don't land a quarterback. I love a guy like Caleb Farley. I know he's slipping down boards, obviously the back injury, and hasn't played much football. But when you look at his tape, even though it's a small sample size, ball hawk, he has the tracking skills. So I think corner, if you're going to sit at 15 and you have a chance, you'll definitely have a chance at one of those 3 guys. Probably not Surtain, but definitely a Farley. I think possibly a J.C. Horn. I think that's a route they go to. I think that makes a lot of sense.
John, before you go, I don't mean to cut you off, but the 5th round option deadline, because I looked it up the other day, is May 3rd.
May 3rd, right.
So it's not until after the draft. So theoretically, the Patriots could be sitting there waiting, saying, if one of those guys drops to us, we'll take Rashawn Slater at 15 and then not pick up that 5th-year option. Or if we don't get a guy, then we'll pick up. And they may not be waiting, right? They might do it next week. Who knows? But that could be a reason. So anyway,
and for them, just real quick, there's no reason to take it before the deadline, to pick it up or to decline it, whatever. There's zero value to doing it before the deadline. So they'll wait until the last possible second like they always do.
Yeah.
And I think that you're going to pick it up anyway. I mean, you pick it up.
Like nothing.
The 49ers, we're the same with Mike McGlinchey, who, is amazing run blocker, huge passing game liability. You're picking up the option. You get a $10 million tackle that's young, you pick it up. But to those corners, man, I'm with you. So Caleb Farley, he is my number 3 player on my big board. I've got a red flag.
I love him. I
do too. I wouldn't touch him. I'm the president of the damn fan club, and I would not draft this guy in the first round. I would not.
Is it because of the medicals? Is it the lack of play?
So, a couple things. You were right about the ball hawk. The ceiling play is just stupid. Wide receiver. He's only played corner for 2 years.
Yep.
He came to Virginia Tech and played wide receiver during spring ball, then switched. The tape that we have on him, he's super, super young, and he's so damn good. But the problem is this: he started having back problems during 2019 and played through them. Took the full year off, and then right before Pro Day circuit says, you know what, I got to go in and get some more work done after a full year's rest. It's just too much. There's going to be people, I would be willing to say probably 20 teams in the NFL will remove him completely from their board. Now that only takes one. But I just can't see it. I cannot see it. How you would wait. I don't want to say waste. Use a first round pick on a guy like that. I just don't know. Whoever gets him, I'm going to be watching his career. He's a hell of a player. But you talk about Surtain and J.C. Horn. Both those guys are great. Again, the Alabama connection, I think he'll be gone. I think he's going to be the first corner off the board. But J.C. Horn, if you run a cover 3 scheme like the 49ers do or so many different teams, J.C. Horn is a better corner than Patrick Surtain. The one weakness in his film, Surtain's film at Alabama, is the deep ball. That's it. You let that guy play close to the line of scrimmage or even cut off, when a cover 2 scheme or something along those lines, you're talking Pro Bowl level corner first couple of years. It's just that one flaw in his game that I saw. Amazing in run support, Alabama coached by Nick Saban, clean, started as a true freshman, whatever else. He's a plug and play guy. The ceiling, however, is higher for J.C. Horn. That dude is physical. If you want to watch one game to love J.C. Horn, go watch South Carolina versus Florida, and him and Kyle Pitts are throwing each other on the ground, jawing at each other's face. What the play? It's a running play to the left side. They're on the right side fighting it out, man. I mean, it's just 2 alpha males going at it, and it is fun as hell to watch.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to, help me at all by saying this, but his physical profile is Stephon Gilmore. The way he plays football, his size,
Carolina
all
guy.
of it.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's like, why wouldn't you want to get this guy in your building, have him learn beside Gilmore for a year? If he's here, if not, then you just have him kind of take over that role. And he fits perfectly into the Patriots defense. So that's the guy, if you're talking about 15, if they have to make a pick there, they pick up Wynn's option, let's say, that's the guy that they have to be targeting him. I think he's the number 1 guy at that spot for them.
And if for some reason y'all punt the cornerback position, stay with South Carolina, the opposite side of J.C. Horn, Israel Mukuamu, 6'3", 205 corner on the opposite side. Again, physical as hell, plays all over the place, very similar to kind of a what's it called? Mika Fitzpatrick, what he did for South Carolina. He played safety, linebacker, nickel, outside corner. He does it all. I think he's another good fit for you guys as well.
Yeah, later on. Because he's not a man. He wouldn't play corner here because his man coverage skills aren't great. But you're right. You can kind of throw him around all over the field. And kind of we know how much the Patriots value versatility on the defense, right?
Yeah,
so,
we've seen that a ton in the past 2 years. They're just drafting athletes and kind of throwing them on the field and letting them learn as they go.
Right. Yep. And that's what the NFL's become. I really think that's what the NFL's become, is that it's not quite like basketball where it's positionless, but it kind of almost is, where it's like you have a few guys that do some specific things. So you have the lockdown corners, you have some guys that do different things, but like then it's like, okay, just give me really good athletes that can play in space and, make plays all over the field, and give me 5 of those or 6 of those guys to play on defense, and then we just throw them out there, and see what happens. So
You're seeing it on both sides. A guy like Anthony Schwartz, who doesn't know how to play wide receiver, is going to get drafted in the top 4 rounds just because he's the fastest guy in the field.
Right. 4.22, something like
yeah.
4.26.
He was like a junior Olympian. The guy's stupid fast.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Guys like that didn't work out before, right? Who's the guy that played for the Patriots that went to Florida?
Chad Jackson.
No, not that guy. Jesus Christ. No, the guy who was the don't talk about that guy.
Jeff Demps,
right? Jeff Demps. That's the guy who was like an actual Olympian, right? And he just, couldn't play football, but he was fast as hell, but he just couldn't play. But now it's like those speed guys are like, yeah, just throw them a quick bubble screen and see what happens, So it's gonna be interesting. John, this has been so much fun, man. Really appreciate having you on. Like I said, we go way back, and I appreciate you coming on. You guys are having great success over there at the 49ers Rush podcast. Obviously, it was a Patriots podcast. I don't know how many people are going to be listening to that, but the content over there, man. You guys are crushing it. You guys are crushing it. So
up until draft night, the two teams relate with Jimmy, with the quarterback.
That's right.
There's real correlation between the two teams.
Want to learn about
That's
San
usually
Fran,
my
man.
plug. Like, just listen to us till the draft. After the draft, unsubscribe. But till the draft, it's just draft talk.
Right.
So yeah, if you want to check us out, head over there. And on Twitter, probably best place to follow me, just because all I do is put up clips. I'm a big film kind of guy. All I do is put up
for my threads. I've used a couple of it. It's good
I
stuff.
appreciate that. That's awesome, man. But yeah, at JL_Chapman, and make fun of me as much as possible. It kind of feeds my soul, or where it should be anyway. So
not just that, but what I love about you is that you're not only throwing up clips, you're also throwing up clips and breaking it down during the clip, right? Which is great. You know what I mean? Like, because a lot of times you see the clip and, you know, and I'm terrible at putting clips up and do it. You know, Keegan and Ryan do a great job of it too. But a lot of times, like, okay, hey, I saw this happen or whatever. Hey, this is what's going on. But you're like actually on it saying, hey, this is what's happening here. Watch him make this play and watch him do this. And so you get pretty in depth with it. So it's really, he's a great follow on Twitter for those of you that aren't already doing it. If you want to get some in-depth knowledge of these college guys coming out, you know, it's a great resource.
It's a lot of hard work that goes into it. If you follow him for anything, the hard work. I tried it and I was like, nope, not doing this. I'm just going to type out my analysis.
I appreciate it. And then just mute me after the draft. That's all I got to say. So when the draft's going on, we'll be buddies. And then afterwards, it's, you know, I understand where I go.
Just don't forget to unmute before the draft next year. That's all. You know what I mean? Hey, thanks, John. We really appreciate it, man. Have a great night. All right.
Pleasure.